How do I know if I am a true Christian? I believe in God. I believe in his son, Jesus. I believe that Jesus died on a cross, that he paid for my sins, that he rose from the grave, and that he comes to live in those who have trusted in him by faith. How do I know this works? And listen to what the scriptures say. If anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, they do not belong to Christ. Now, this verse gives us the basic distinguishing mark of the Christian. Those who know Christ have the Spirit of Christ living within them. Those that do not have the Spirit of Christ, they're controlled by the flesh. Now, Romans chapter 8, verse 5 to 8 paints a somber portrait of the life of an individual controlled by the flesh. Verse 5 says, they continually desire to do wrong. Verse 6 says there's all spiritual death. Verse 7 says there's hostility toward God. Verse 7 says there's rebellion against God's law. And verse 8 says there's an inability to please God. In the new life, in the Spirit, it stands out in bold relief. It says this: if you're filled with the Spirit, there's a continual desire to do right. And there's a daily experience of life and peace. So you ask the question, what makes such a dramatic change? The Holy Spirit living within the believer. He provides the inner transformation that reorientates my heart from death to life, from hostility to friendship, from anger and bitterness to life and peace. The Holy Spirit is God's antidote to the destructive power of the flesh. All this is because the Spirit of God dwells in you. Now you may sit back and say, well, I don't know. Well, how about if I just read for you those 4 verses? Those who live according to the flesh have their minds set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their minds set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile toward God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. You, however, are not in the realm of the flesh, but are in the realm of the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of God lives in you. And if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, they do not belong to Christ.